will be defending the people of the city of Adana against a possible tactical ballistic missile threat from Syria.
Does diplomacy really work? And would it work with Iran? These questions come as the former U.S. envoy to the United Nations says Israel has until August 21st to attack Iran's nuclear sites. This before Russia finalizes its shipment of nuclear fuel to Iran. Joining me for more on the story's investigative journalist and RT contributor, Wayne Madsen. Hey there, Wayne. Now, the Iranian people are aware of Israel's attack. And, you know, we just had a report showing that before the war in Iraq, there were human shields. There were a lot of people who tried to prevent that war, this, you know, people's diplomacy. And we have that now with Iran. A lot of American civilians going over there to engage in this kind of diplomacy. Is it going to work in preventing war with Iran?
Oh, absolutely not. If the Israelis decide to attack Iran, it doesn't matter whether there's civilian volunteers over there. The New York Yankees happen to be in Tehran. None of that's going to matter. They're going to hit Iran.
What kind of Iranian aircraft? The Iranian Su-25 Frogfoot aircraft, approximately the 60 nautical mile range, moved further out. They intercepted the aircraft and fired multiple rounds.
So was Secretary Panetta awoken or advised of this incident when it occurred?
He was advised very early in the morning of the incident.
At this point, all U.S. forces are on the ground here in Israel. Undoubtedly, the exercise scenario is clearly driven by the overall situation in the Middle East, but, and I must stress this, it is not related to any specific current events in the region.
Today I want to make it absolutely clear to Assad and those under his command, the world is watching. The use of chemical weapons is and would be totally unacceptable. There will be consequences and you will be held accountable.
All who hear the news of your destruction clap their hands for joy. Did no one escape your endless cruelty?
I need a gun to protect myself from the government. We can't do background checks because the government's going to come take my guns away. The government's us. These officials are elected by you.
Police have, as you've said, just this year in 2011, received $500 million in surplus military weaponry from the Pentagon, which is authorized through the Pentagon's 1033 program. During the late 70s, Congress passed legislation called Posse Comitatus, barring the military from operating on American soil. And in the early 80s, there was an effort to circumvent that in Congress by arming police with military-grade weaponry. And now we're seeing that play out in the streets. People in the inner city in the U.S. have been experiencing this since the 80s, and now middle-class Americans in the Occupy movement are facing not only pepper spray, but things like the LRAD sound cannon, the long-range acoustic device, which can blast your cranium with 140 decibels, shaking your skull so hard even earplugs won't stop it. And as I reported for Al Akhbar English, this weapon has been tested on Palestinians in the occupied West Bank by the Israeli army. So civilians in the U.S. are now up against basically military-style policing.
It sounds like you are calling this a militarization of the police force.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the world. So many ways right now.
Yeah.
That's scary. That's really scary. I did hear they were talking about like a new world order in like 2 years, something like that. Maybe that's what they're planning.
It's also just a new whole order. Nobody can really fight it, and it's completely different than our order.
And people like John Bolton he's one of these old neocon types, the ones who lied about intelligence to get us into the Iraq War, and they continue to hype up intelligence, cook it, they provide false information, and Bolton is keying everything to this August 21st date. The Bushehr reactor is a peaceful power reactor. It has nothing to do with weapons production.
Now, I want to ask you something else, because Bolton says that they need to attack Iran. They need to attack Iran by August 21st, because if they do so afterwards, it's going to endanger Iranian civilians. Radiation's going to go out and everything else. But is the worry here that if the Russians do transfer this before August 21st, it would bring Russia into the equation of attacking Iran?
Well, the Russian technicians and engineers are already in Bushehr, so whether it happens before August 21st, on that day, or after, there could be Russian casualties. And yes, it would bring Russia into the equation.
And that number is 7, but the reality is that actually we need more than that. But the strategy here is you pull them in, you get them to write a big check, and they have to support their money, If they thought the enormity of it up front, they might decide they have a choice. You know what I mean? They might say that the cost of taxpayers is too high. This is 7 billion bridging.
Yeah.
So it's bridged off we can pay you back, which is never.
Because
what we're seeing now taking place in Greece and Athens is so similar to what took place in my country of Argentina in 2001 and 2002, which is so similar to what the scenes we have seen in Brazil in 1999, in Mexico in 1997, with the Southeast Asian tigers, in Spain, in Italy, in Portugal. It seems that this is basically a model that is being followed in country after country, and always with the same sort of media coverage, at least from the Western media. I feel that there are 2 key questions that have to be asked. First of all, who runs Greece? Is it the Greek people, or is it the IMF, the European Central Bank, the European Union, Germany, and the private bankers? And I ask this question because President Lucas Papademos is a member of the Trilateral Commission, which is one of the power groups where you also have the top brass members, the top brass of Deutsche Bank, Dresdner Bank, Santander Bank, Goldman Sachs, Citicorp, Lazard Frères, HSBC, JP Morgan. So you figure, will Mr. Papademos prioritize the interests of the Greek people or the interests of the bankers? We have a similar situation in Italy, where Mario Monti is the European president and chairman for the Trilateral Commission. And the second question, Matt, is who is all this money owed to? I mean, this sovereign debt crisis, as I said, happens time and again. Are bankers that stupid that they always make the mistake of lending too much money to countries? And are governments that stupid that they take loans much more than they can pay back? Or I insist, is this part of a model where, like Shylock's pound of flesh, the unpayability of these sovereign debts is later used to control entire countries? A new government will have no choice, because it will probably be a new government that is in one way or another subordinated to the global power masters, so to speak, to the money powers. Because in a way, all governments, whether it's in Greece, in Italy, in Spain, in the UK, in Argentina, all governments today have 2 choices. They can either govern for the people, which means governing against the bankers, or they can govern to favor the bankers, and that means that they will always be against the people. And it's so sad to see the same sickening scene time and again. protesters taken to the streets. They are repressed by the police with tear gas. They throw stones. Somebody gets injured. Hundreds get injured. Somebody always ends up getting killed. And I always figure that it's the poor people on the streets fighting the police who are also poor. And I always wonder if there aren't cigar-smoking bankers perched on the 50th floor boardrooms looking down at these horrific scenes and just laughing at it all. One real option that a sovereign Greece does have is to revert back to the drachma, just like a sovereign Spain should revert back to the peseta and a sovereign Italy should revert back to the lira. However, all of this it can only happen if they have real sovereign governments in power. And I think that what this system does is it ensures that whoever governs the country, as we saw with Mr. Papademos and we're seeing with Mr. Monti, who are both Trilateral Commission members, they will always, unfortunately, end up governing in favor of the bankers and ensuring that government will bail out the banks and not the people. In a way, these people remind me a little bit of allowing a monkey to take care of a banana shop. You know, the projected results can be expected.
In our time, the biblical prophecies are being realized. As the prophet Amos said, they shall rebuild ruined cities and inhabit them. They shall plant vineyards and drink their wine. They shall till gardens and eat their fruit. And I will plant them upon their soil.